Hi, hello, good morning. It is still really, really cold outside, although it isn't snowing. And this isn't even me fully dressed. Okay, so don't think I'm one of these complete nutters who's going to go outside in cold weather, like stark naked or semi-dressed. This is just my underlayer. So obviously I've got my undergarments on, a top, and some thermal leggings with one pair of socks, which you probably can't see because my video is so rubbish. Yeah, you can probably just see my arm. And one pair of socks. So if you are going to go out today, I'm having to go out because I'm on a meter, right? You will not believe how many properties in the UK or anywhere in the world will still have metered gas and electric. Now, I know they brought out what they called these smart meters, which would enable you to not have to keep running out every time you run out of gas or electric. But I'm in a rented house and my landlord will not allow any alterations to the property. It's actually in my tenancy agreement. And I've tried to talk to them about it for years. But again, I'm very sceptical about these smart meters because I know that if the government wanted, they could actually turn you off. Well, they could turn your gas and electric off regardless of whether you're on a meter, smart meter, or you're prepaid. You get a bill annually or quarterly, or you're on an annual tariff. So there's always that fear that, because your gas, your water, and your electric is governed by the country you live in, how much are you going to pay for it? When are they going to start limiting the amount that you're entitled to? And what would happen if you ran out of gas, electric, and water that were, so readily available just by turning on your thermostat or switching on a light or, opening up a tap in your house? If everybody woke up today or over the last couple of days where it's been in the minuses and you had no gas, no electric, and no water, there would be panic in this country, just like in any country. So I think those sorts of things, yes, as a species, we do take them for granted. And then there are people out there who are trying to live off grid, who have said, okay, I'm going to have my own fire. I'm going to use wood or coal to heat my property. And the government don't like that because they can't control you. Obviously, they can control the cost of coal. They can control the cost of wood. But if you needed to survive, people will do anything to survive, okay, when push comes to shove. And I know that if there was a day, if this whole country in the UK shut down for an entire day and you had no gas, no electric, no water, there would be riots in the street. Okay, I'm not saying there should be, I'm just saying there will be. Okay, trust me. So I'm having to go outside. I'm having to go to the local shop, which is open on a Sunday because, again, they changed the law. So you do get Sunday service at shops where traditionally Sunday would have been a day of rest. It would have been a day a lot of people would have gone to church or spent with their family and their loved ones, and no businesses would have ran. But in the UK, obviously that has changed, and there's pros and cons to having a facility where for one day a week, not everything is shut. Should we go back to only working 6 days a week? Who knows? But I am very lucky that the local shop will be open and I can get gas and electric. But again, in order to do that, I'm looking at a 30-minute round trip to go to the shop, get what I need, and come back again. And you might think, oh, that's not very far, that's not a long time to be outside. But with the temperatures being what they are at the moment, it is a risk for anyone who has any underlying health problems, even if you are wrapped up warm, to be exposed to the elements. So in Coventry, which is close to Nuneaton where I live, there's been a lot of information on social media about how they're supporting their homeless because of the cold weather. But yet in Nuneaton, where I live, it doesn't seem to be something they've talked much about. You used to have what they call warm shelters, and a lot of the churches would offer facilities for the homeless, especially in the colder months, which we're talking from maybe November right through till March. And all of that seems to have gone by the wayside. I myself am still in the property that I have been renting for the past 10 years, purely because my Section 21 was not legal. If I had took it at face value that it was legal, like I did the last time I was Section 21 back in 2012, and I had no support from the government, I had no support from shelter or citizens' advice or my local council, then I would have been on the streets by now. And I would have been one of these people that would have been literally living under a bridge somewhere in the freezing cold. But luckily, this time round, although it took them 12 weeks to do anything, the council did say, no, your Section 21 isn't legal. Your homeless application has been suspended. We're under no obligation to support you or house you or your children. You can legally stay where you've been renting for the past 10 years. So I have been very blessed in that way that I do have a roof over my head. However, due to the new rules and regulations that have come in order to make rented accommodation fit for purpose, which constantly change, the house that I am living in, regardless of what Environmental Health said in 2025, do not hold water in 2026. The house I am renting is not, after having the energy inspection the energy survey that they did, this house is not fit and does not comply with today's standards of what a rented property that is on the market should comply with in order to be energy efficient and habitable. But then I know people who own their own houses and they haven't got gas, they haven't got water, they haven't got electric. 2 properties in the street where I grew up, the moment they went on the market, the people that brought them got them for literally peanuts. I'm crying as to how much the last house went in my street for. And they have literally for the last 6 months spent over $1,000, if not more, maybe $100,000, gutting the house to basically change the electrics, change the gas supply, put in a water supply, put in an electric supply, put in all of the mod cons that you would expect in a house in 2026. The houses in my street that literally were lived in by elderly women until the day they died, they were still like the 1800s. I am not joking. They had no modern electrics, or I think they probably had electric and that was about it. Hot water, again, they had no boiler, they had no central heating, and that's just what they were used to. So we're a little bit spoiled today, I think, with the way that we take gas, electric and water for granted. But at the same time, these are the 3 things that people need to survive: food, warmth and shelter. And without them, that is where problems do occur. And like I said, with myself, I am lucky that I have not been made homeless. However, I am living in a property that at this moment in time was classed back in 2025 as not being fit to live in by the information that I was given. But the government have turned a blind eye to that and said, well, it is what it is. We're not going to say anything. Just stay there until you get a valid Section 21. So that's what I'm doing. I am trying to keep this house warm. I'm trying to make sure no more pipes burst because of the cold weather. I'm trying to make sure that the gas, the electric and the water are still usable in a house that is not mine and I will never own. But at least I have a roof over my head, and that is the main thing. So I'm going to carry on getting dressed and I will go to the shop. And like I said, I am so grateful. I might not sound like it. It might sound I'm quite selfish and being inconsiderate, not very considerate of other people. But I know there are people in this street where I live who are in worse conditions than me. I know that from speaking to them. I know that from, just by looking at the state of the properties, and you can see clearly which ones are rentals and which ones are privately owned and which ones are council. But then there's those ones in the middle that, even though they're owned by people, they still do not have a house. They own a house, but they don't have a house that is up to the modern standard of living, shall we say. Purely because, yeah, they may own the bricks, they may own the mortar, they may own everything that the house is, but they still have to pay council tax, they still have to pay for gas, electric, water, and any other things that they may need to survive on a daily basis. So although they may need a new roof or a new boiler or central heating or, cavity wall insulation or anything else that they need in order to make that house safe, even structural damage, which the house I'm renting at the moment has a lot of internal and external structural damage because the roof leaks, because the guttering has leaked. And as silly as it sounds, you say to someone, well, that's easy, fix the guttering, fix the roof. But these things aren't cheap. But if you're paying your landlord £1,000 a month, I'm not, by the way, and they're still not fixing those problems, you're going to be thinking, why am I paying you £1,000 a month? When in 7 months, you could have paid for a new roof. You could have had the guttering sorted. You could have put in a new boiler. You could have sorted out the central heating. You could have sorted out the electrics. Part of the money, I believe, that you pay in rent, it's not just for you to rent that space, it also is to maintain it. And if your landlord isn't using that money to maintain the space that you're paying for, then why are you paying them? I used to live in accommodation that was owned by a housing association. And even then, we, on top of our rent, we pay what was called a service charge. And this is why a lot of people struggle with housing associations, because not only your rent goes up, your service charge can go up as well. So surely it's the same when you rent in the private sector. They're saying, we're going to put your rent up. Okay, fine, you put my rent up, but fix the boiler, fix the guttering, fix the roof, fix the electrics, fix the gas main, fix the water main. And if you're not going to do it, why should I pay you an extra 500, 700, another £1,000 a year, not a year, a month, if you're not going to use that money to maintain the property that you're renting? So anyway, I'm going to leave it now. I'm going to get off my soapbox and I'm going to brave the weather and go outside. So if you are going to go outside today for whatever reason, check your vehicles, check bus timetables, check to see if it is actually safe to go anywhere, because I guarantee you, the first thing that's going to probably happen to me when I step out that door is I'm going to fall on my ass. All right. So it's a good job I'm making sure I've got a bit of padding on there. The last thing I want is a broken coxswain bone or arms or legs or whatever. So please be safe. It's still really cold outside. The temperature may say that does not account for the wind chill factor. So be safe, be well, and take care of you.